What if I told you, the very moment you beg for her love, you've already lost something far more precious than her, yourself? There's a deep, invisible line between craving connection and handing over your soul on a silver plate. And the moment you cross it, you don't just lose her. You lose your masculinity, your silence, your self-control, the very essence that once made her drawn to you in the first place. She doesn't want a man who pleads. She wants a man who walks away without shaking, whose value is not determined by her approval, but by the universe that forged him. You're not here to be chosen. You're here to be earned, because the truth no one dares to tell you is this: when you stop chasing, she starts noticing. And what if the very act of letting go is what pulls her closer? But this isn't about games. It's about transformation, about unlocking a darker, deeper power within you that no heartbreak can touch. Stay with me till the very end, because what you're about to discover isn't just a mindset. It's a weapon, and once you wield it, you will never be the same man again. There is a hidden cost to begging for love, a cost that most never see until it's too late. It's not just your dignity that you lose. It's your identity, your fire, your very sense of worth. When you lower yourself to plead for someone to stay, to love you, to see your value, you're not asking for affection. You're offering your soul on discount. You begin to shrink in her eyes, and worse, in your own. You become the shell of the man you were meant to be. She sees it too. The shift, the desperation, the lack of power in your presence, and the more you try to hold on, the faster she slips away. Because what truly pulls someone in isn't the frantic grasp of need, but the unshakable stillness of someone who doesn't flinch, who doesn't beg, who would rather stand alone than kneel for temporary comfort. A man who begs for love becomes a man who betrays himself. And when you betray yourself, everything else collapses. The foundation of your character, your confidence, your clarity, all of it begins to rot. You become emotionally homeless. You start questioning your worth, doubting your strength, second-guessing your every move. You stop being the center of your own life and orbit around a woman who now controls your weather. If she's cold, you freeze. If she's warm, you melt. You become reactive, not rational. You become driven by fear, not philosophy. But a Stoic knows better. We know that to chase what flees is to run away from ourselves. That love, true, enduring love, is not something you acquire by sacrificing your spine. It is something that aligns with your soul when you remain immovable in the face of chaos. And here lies the paradox. When you stop begging, when you stop chasing, when you reclaim your position as the calm in the storm, that's when she feels your absence more than she ever felt your presence. That's when the silence becomes louder than your words, when your distance becomes more powerful than your apologies. Because power doesn't beg, power attracts. The Stoics taught us that the greatest strength is not in persuasion, but in presence. As Marcus Aurelius said, never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. When you beg, you abandon both. But when you stand tall, even when your heart is breaking, even when every voice inside you screams to run after her, you embody something no woman can ignore: mystery, control, and the kind of strength that cannot be seduced or shaken. This is only the beginning, because what comes next will teach you how to become the kind of man they chase, not out of fear, but out of awe. And if you've felt the pain of chasing someone who only pulled away, this is your moment to rise from it, to become untouchable. If you're ready to never lose yourself again, hit that join button and become a part of a brotherhood where we don't beg, we build. A silence that speaks louder than pleading ever could. The moment you detach from the outcome, when you no longer care whether she stays or walks, You begin to glow with a power she can't define but can't ignore. Women are drawn not to the man who shouts his worth, but to the one who walks in stillness, knowing it. And this detachment, this radical form of emotional independence, is not indifference. It is supreme self-mastery. It is the armor of the Stoic, forged in the fire of rejection, heartbreak, and unfulfilled longing. As Epictetus warned us, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. A woman's love, her affection, her loyalty, these things are outside your control, and to beg for them is to put chains around your soul. But to release your grip, to stand in full acceptance of what comes and what leaves, that is the path of the warrior. And that's when everything changes. She will feel the shift long before she understands it. You used to chase, you used to call, to explain, to seek closure. But now, you're quiet, not cold, just complete. That kind of presence unnerves her, because deep down, every woman knows that the man who can walk away without turning back is the man who doesn't need her to survive. And it's that lack of need that creates the highest form of desire. You become the enigma, the untouchable force that doesn't sway with her moods or dance to her expectations. You become the man who doesn't chase because he leads. And leadership in love, in life, in pain comes from inner alignment, from being anchored in something deeper than emotions, principles. The Stoics didn't teach us to suppress our emotions. They taught us to master them. And in that mastery, you'll find the secret to turning heartbreak into power and detachment into irresistible magnetism. Because when a man is not afraid to lose her, she becomes afraid to lose him. But don't mistake this power for arrogance. It is not about revenge. It is not about games. It is about returning home to yourself, about becoming the kind of man who is so internally fulfilled, so fiercely grounded, that no woman can complete or destroy him. This is where the story truly begins, not with her running after you, but with you walking into a new chapter, where love is no longer your weakness, but your mirror, where you attract what aligns, not what pleads for attention. The detachment is the doorway, not to loneliness, but to legacy. And if you feel something stirring inside you now, a flame, a restlessness, a question that whispers, "What if I chose myself?" then stay with me, because in the next chapter we'll step into the most terrifying, most liberating truth of all, how to become unforgettable without uttering a single word. There's a moment, silent, cold, and absolute, when you turn your back and walk away, not out of spite, but out of strength. And that moment echoes, not just in her mind, but in the very reality you've now reshaped. You see, most men stay. They tolerate breadcrumbs. They wait for closure that never comes. They hold on, hoping she'll see their worth if they just love a little harder. But a Stoic doesn't wait to be chosen. He chooses himself, and when he walks with the weight of ancient wisdom in his stride. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And a good man, a strong man, leaves the table when respect is no longer being served, not out of ego, but because he knows that staying where he's undervalued corrupts the soul. And here's the twist. When you finally walk away for you, not for her reaction, not to make her miss you, but because your peace is worth more than her presence, that's when she feels the real loss. And she won't understand it at first. She'll expect a message, a relapse, a last attempt to prove your love. But when none comes, when the silence lingers longer than her ego can handle, a storm begins to brew inside her. She will replay everything. She will feel the shift, not in what you said, but in what you didn't. Because walking away is the loudest statement you'll ever make without speaking. It forces her to confront the emptiness your presence once filled. And in that space, curiosity festers. How did he let go so easily? Why didn't he fight? Was I not enough? But this isn't about making her question herself. It's about you finally answering to yourself. You didn't walk away to hurt her. You walked away because staying would have meant betraying the man you're becoming. And that man, the one who walks, who detaches, who masters himself, he is rare, he is dangerous, he is unforgettable. If you feel that quiet fire rising in your chest now, good. That's not anger, it's awakening. Because what comes next is not just about walking away, it's about never returning. It's about becoming so full, so centered, that even if she comes back, it's not her validation you seek, it's alignment. And in the next chapter, we'll dive into how to build that unshakable core, how to become the man who doesn't just attract love, but commands respect in every room he enters. Keep watching, because your transformation has only just begun. Women don't fall in love with a man who needs them. They fall in love with a man who doesn't. A man so relentlessly devoted to his purpose, so locked into his values, that no amount of affection, absence, or allure can pull him off course. That's the man she can't forget. That's the man she fears losing. And the only way to become him is to first stop trying to be liked. You were not born to orbit around her moods, to mold yourself into whatever shape will make her stay. You were born to stand like a mountain, unmoved, centered, silent in your strength. The Stoics knew this deeply. As Seneca once said, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. And what greater trial is there than to look love in the eye, smile, and walk away because it asks you to abandon yourself? She will never truly respect the man who gives in to every demand, who trades his voice for her comfort, who becomes predictable in his attempts to keep her. That's not love, that's performance. And performances get boring. But the man who is untamed by attention, who values inner order over outer chaos, who would rather lose her than lose himself, that man haunts her. Not because he's playing games, but because he's rare. He is the man who doesn't flinch when left on red, who doesn't panic in silence, who doesn't fold when she withdraws. He stands, and that stillness is power. That indifference is discipline. He doesn't chase because he's building, not just a life, but a fortress, mental, emotional, and spiritual, a place no storm can touch. And from that place, he doesn't need to be loved. He chooses who gets access to his energy. That alone rewrites the dynamic. She no longer sees him as someone to test. She sees him as someone to earn. And here's what most men miss. Becoming this kind of man doesn't require rage or revenge. It requires rebirth. The death of the boy who begged, the burial of the man who broke himself to be accepted, and the rise of someone far more dangerous, a man who's enough without her and terrifyingly magnetic because of it. That man doesn't ask to be loved. He doesn't even demand to be understood. He just is. And she either rises to meet him or fades behind him. In the next chapter, we'll break down exactly how to forge that kind of unshakable presence, how to train your mind, body, and spirit to radiate the kind of gravity she can't escape, even if she tries. So stay locked in, because the deeper we go, the less of the old you remains. And the more the world starts to recognize a version of you that no woman will ever dare to walk away from again. There is no greater force in a man's life than the ability to feel everything, yet show nothing. Not out of suppression, but out of supreme command. The modern man bleeds at the slightest rejection, spirals when ignored, begs when uncertain. But the Stoic? He feels the chaos boiling inside and still walks through the fire without blinking. Emotional control isn't about pretending to be made of stone. It's about being the storm's center. As Marcus Aurelius declared, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And that strength, my brother, is what separates the forgettable from the unforgettable. Because when a man reacts wildly, she knows she owns him. But when he holds still, speaks less, and breathes deeper while she tests his limits, she is the one who begins to unravel. She will test your boundaries. She will pull away to see if you chase. She'll create emotional whirlwinds to see if you stumble. And if you do, she loses respect faster than you can type your next apology. But when you no longer flinch, when your emotions are trained, disciplined, and untouchable, you become a mystery, a man she cannot manipulate, a presence she cannot read, yet desperately wants to understand. The greatest emotional power isn't in shouting or proving, it's in the terrifying calmness of saying nothing at all, of watching the chaos unfold, yet remaining still as a mountain. That silence becomes a mirror she can't avoid, and the more she tries to shake you, the more she is shaken by your restraint. This is not arrogance, this is alignment. The inner stillness of a man who refuses to let external noise dictate his internal truth. This is how legacies are built, not by mastering others, but by mastering yourself. If you've ever felt like you were too emotional, too reactive, too easily pulled out of your center, then this is your rebirth. This is the moment where you stop letting her moods control your peace. And when you do, you'll find that the very emotions you once tried to control now serve you. But only if you stay with me. Because in the next chapter we go deeper into how to forge daily habits and mindsets that bulletproof your masculine energy and turn your silence into gravity. And if you're ready to fully step into this transformation, to stop watching from the shadows and start walking with power, hit the join button now. Become a member of the Brotherhood. No more begging, no more chasing. It's time to rise.